hold it and that sort of thing, pretty cutting the rings on these cuts, you know.
Excuse me, can I just get a and they can't argue. Don't touch them unless you're strong, because they can cause serious harm to the amount of power you want.
What we do is move the electrons.
Feel the unit is in operation now.
Yeah, it's alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that producing
Just tilt it a little, please. Actually,
a gyroscopic effect, even though it's solid state.
Yep.
Now, people just put the power on there and you'll be able to...
I want to show you
If you'd like to bring in...
This is a standard
meter.
Standard volt meter. Yeah, you can buy anywhere. Yeah. I'm going to remove this now. So as I say, please don't touch those leads.
Yes.
You'll remember it for a long time. Here you're looking at right now. The basic output will vary, but 183 volts.
193
Yep.
volts, okay.
It was a constant. It'll vary a little bit, but it should stay right around 183 volts.
Yes. All right.
If you would be, this is a
Standard
100 watt light bulb, 120 volt. Yep. So you're looking at that voltage. You're looking at a bit over an amp of electrical current. Would you mind holding that?
You just hold it. You're going to be the man that's going to hold the bulb. Okay.
Give you an indication of the fact that the power is definitely generated by this unit. Yeah.
Okay. Just hold it on there for a second.
All right.
Okay. It's getting warm. It's getting warm.
It's a real bulb and it's a real unit.
Okay.
And
now what we'll do is hook the generator to the inverter, because being we've got to bring it down 110 volts to the American system here. Yep. Is that on the power of the TV at the moment, Steve?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Standard television. I'm sorry. I just want to show you this.
We just want to get it tuned up right.
We wanted to make sure that it worked with the antennas on top.
Yes.
All right. So this is the
So that's basically dropping down 110 volts and cycle. Normally the cycle requires 1,000 cycles, so that's dropping right there. And then inverted, okay? Not a very good picture, Rick. Yeah, it's not a very good.
Sorry about that.
Anyway, at least you can see its power.
Yes.
So it's power, no trouble at all. So that's the power there. Now what we're going to do is just hook an electric drill to this here now. And the plug.
This is rated at 3 amps, 125 volts.
All right. Okay.
And
The next thing is to do is plug that little vacuum cleaner in
this
there.
vacuum cleaner. This has an 8 amp draw when you first plug it in.
Yep. Now, then we'll just leave the TV on. What we'll do now, Peter and Stephen, Stephen will take that. This is a large model.
Yes.
Okay, this is around the 800 volt. We'll see that in a second. Okay, we put it on this slide, slippery table, because we want you to feel the washboard a bit.
Yep.
Because if you break it, the rotation line before, so you actually push it.
Yep,
You actually feel it. And don't push down on it, just as you slide it back and forth, and you feel that resonance that's actually in it. You can see in electronics it's relatively simple, but it's
Unit
a
is now in
phenomenon.
operation.
Okay.
You're looking at about 874. Well, 874. It'll vary a little bit,
Okay.
but
There you go.
874.
Yep. Steady. All right. Thanks, Peter.
If you would like, just one at a time. No rings or anything on it.
No rings.
Okay.
Just, Stephen, if you go there, hold your hands on. That's it.
And just slowly push it forward and don't push.
You feel that? It's like a sort of a resonance in the building.
Now, would you step back and would you like to stay away from this area right here? I'm sorry. Okay. Just like that. Huh?
Keep your hands up, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, you look quite nice now.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Now, see if I can there should be 10 light bulbs there.
There's 1000 watt light bulb just wired in series.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Circuit. See when we'll just hook them up and we'll just see that. There you go. Okay. That's like 10 rooms in a house.
Yeah.
There's no mainline power going to it.
They're all 100 watt lights. That's a kilowatt, just a kilowatt.
Yeah.
All right. Tremendous.
And there is no move necessary whatsoever.
No moving parts.
Yes.
Solid state, totally solid state. There's absolutely nothing moving the little one or the big one.
Yeah.
All right? It's fine, Stephen. Okay. And you can see this arc. And if you do that little big power source, what we're going to actually do now, Peter, is you must make sure on the video there's like a flame that comes in.
Yes.
It's a very unique flame, and Stephen can actually do that now by putting the electrodes in there. So it's not an arc, it's quite an amazing phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's like an electric fire. Okay? And
Like
you have to depower it somewhat to do this. What's this?
It's down to one cylinder.
It's like you're taking like 7 spark plugs out of an 8-cylinder engine. We have to drop it. We have to drop it that low.
Yeah.
You're going to see something very profound here. Carry on, Stephen. Stephen always holds his hand. Carry on, don't panic.
I get nervous when I do this.
Does that go up? Yes, you do. Okay, that's good.
It's a kind of
It's like a fire.
welding effect.
But it's a fire, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not an arc. That's good, Stephen. That's fine. Okay.
Yep.
That's it. Interesting?
Fascinating. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Interesting.
And
No question about that.
okay. All right. You're saying, I think as per my letter, Peter.
Yep.
I said you're going to see something.
Yeah, we were quite convinced.
I'm sure you were, but it's nice to see it anyway.
Yeah.
In real life and feel this and
Sure.
all that.
It is.
All right.
And yeah, we have a few questions, but
That's it. We'll sit down. We're going to do that for a room. We can sit down and discuss all that.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. Mention if we handle it properly and with a team like yourself as part of it, and I consider it as a team effort. That's what I'm looking at. You've got the business experience, you've got the connection with all the people in the world that matter, and we can just, as a team, pull this on. I said to Bruce, and a little bit of background on me, I was born in India, Peter. Okay? I was kidnapped as a baby at 9 months old. I was lucky you even got here. But anyway, that's another story. So, I love Singapore. I think it's the greatest little island on the face of the earth. I love the food. I love the people. I think it's one of the best governed nations on earth. We've got safety there. If you mess around, they'll belt you.
Yep.
If you do it a bit more, they'll hang you. So there's no messing around in Singapore, and I like that idea. I like law and order. All right. So I look forward to setting up our world head office in Singapore. I understand you've got your operations in Singapore.
Yep.
I mean, that's only 5 minutes from Perth where I live, so it's really quite ideal. So I look forward to having someone like yourselves who we can just work in a team effort.
Yes.
And that's what it'll be, because we're just looking for people who've got credibility in their own right,
Yes.
because of you with a company that's many, many years old. And it's interesting when Bruce said Switzerland, and I thought, you know, I love Switzerland. When I went there and I won the gold medal in Geneva in 1979, to me that was fascinating. It was the first time I'd ever been and seen the Alps and all that. It reminded me of a little boy in India in the snow, because I lived at the foot of the Himalayas,
Yep.
Mount Everest.
Yep.
And so there was something about my childhood that I actually saw in Switzerland. And all that was very special. But as you can realise, all of this has been a long, rough road, Peter. I tell you what, if the Wright brothers had a rough time, and Edison had a rough time, and Einstein, theirs was a party compared to what I've been through. Because this has been tough. Because you're taking on the scientific community of the world. We're talking about the holy grail of physics here. Okay? And I've got one of the best academics in the world at Sussex University, Dr. Dennis Edwards. He said, Brian, he said, I would consider it the greatest honour to certify this thing to be safe, reliable, everything that I've ever claimed about it. And he's one of the world's leading scientists, a brilliant, delightful English academic. He's independent of me, but he holds me in very high esteem because he did help me with some of my earlier research, Peter. And I hope you don't mind me talking.
No, that would be nice.
Okay. Just some of the earlier research that I did at Sussex was when I was working up towards this, and my colleague Stephen, he's a brilliant electronics engineer and he's a delightful human being. So I did part of the research, he did part of the research, and by the hand of God in an amazing way we were brought together. It's an incredible story how we met, through one lawyer who happened to be both their friends.
Yeah.
So it's a very special human story. Okay? The Sussex University side of it is going to be interesting to give it world-class credibility, because Sussex is a very famous university.
Yep.
Okay, but the breakthrough I made there was we built a device that actually levitated and flew. Okay, so we cracked the secret of actually causing gravity to diminish the pull of gravity. Okay, and that's what led me to cracking the power of gravity. So the first breakthrough led to the second breakthrough, and of course we know that in the future with the generator we can build the most profound flying machine this world's ever seen. And I'm talking about from Singapore to where did you come from? What, Zurich? Where did you go to?
Yes.
Zurich.
Great.
Singapore to Zurich. You could do it comfortably in 15 minutes, and you wouldn't even spill your coffee. Okay, that's the profoundness of the final stage, and you'll be part of all of that. But we'll kick it off step by step and get it into the different market areas. Obviously, you most probably in your mind think there's obviously the optimum way you go first. I mean, in my thoughts, I'm thinking there's 530 million cars in the world squirting out pollution like 100 million barrels of oil into the sky every day, and 26,000 jets flying every minute as we speak. And to think if we could have a retrofit electric motor that could be, as a kit, put into every car, and I'm talking about for all the regions that you want, that's a massive operation, okay? But no problems, you'll pull in electrical people to make electric motors, and I see that, because obviously that's where the greatest revenue is going to come from the cars. Instead of the Arabs getting all the gas money, the Swiss are going to get a lot of the gas money, okay? So those are just basically the general thoughts that I have about how I would like to see it come together. I consider it a team effort, not Brian Collins on his own. I respect you people. I know a little bit about your background because from the internet I've got information. And and those things are important to me, because it's like when you're working with something that's going to change the course of human destiny, you like to think there's a nice group of people who are not going to try and rip anybody off and do anything evil or nasty. We don't have to.
Yes.
We can do it in the nicest possible way, and we're going to win. We're going to win the majority of the human race. If we told the greenies, the greenies are today, I mean, they'll be marching down Washington, they'll be marching everywhere today, because there's some crazy people who are going to be our friends, Peter.
Yes.
Anyway, that's the story.
Yeah.
You can ask me some questions.
Look, I mean, first of all, we of course have been very impressed about all this. That's no question about.
Thank you, Peter.
And I have been thinking about that project as of many hours in the meantime. So I believe if the basics of commercialization is done, then we are dead.
Sorry?
You see, if we start to commercialize this thing,
yes.
because that will be the toughest part now.
Exactly.
Again,
Exactly. It's got to be.
Because you don't know in the moment how big it can be, how small it can be.
Peter, we've got some. Well, just to give you some ideas, we can build it. The little small one that you saw, which that'll kill you. That thing. Okay, and the big one will fry you if you got your fingers on that one. We believe with ceramics and other materials that we're going to use in the future. You know, right now, if I told you what you held in your hand was 99% cork. Just cork, because we've made cork in a ring. But what we've done, the secret of this thing is, we found the frequency that Earth's gravity pulses at. And no one knows that, and we'll never tell anybody that, because there's no need for them to know.
Yes.
Okay? The bottom line, it works. That's the issue.
That's it.
Okay? And all we're doing is causing electrons to flow in the winding. And if you've got electrons flowing, you've got electricity.
Yes.
And of course with miniaturization in electronics and chips and all that, and you know about that stuff, and I'm sure we can hire the right people who can do that. We can miniaturize that. We found that it's about the size of a thimble.
Yep.
We can power a cell phone with something that weighs 1/100th of the weight.
Yes.
So that's going to revolutionise telephones, for goodness sake.
Yes.
I mean, those telephones weigh a ton just with the battery.
That's right.
Okay? And then they go flat at the most inappropriate
Brian, can I come in? One of the questions that Peter's asked me is how quickly or how small can you make it realistically? Because it's something that can be done within...
And just put it this way, it comes down to, Peter, there's no point in aiming for the wrong market first. It's like you might have a thought in your mind thinking now, which is the one that's going to be the easiest one to implement market-wise? So you've got to think about this. And then, because we know we can, I mean, I know that within 90 days I can put it in the car and we can drive the car, okay? So we see that in a very short space of time, we've actually allowed 6 months to have this thing ready to mass produce, where you can take it and start making it. But I've allowed 12 months just to be careful, to make sure we've covered every possible thing, because at this stage we see it's relatively straightforward. One of my friends who's part of my team is General Charles Duke. He was the Apollo 16 astronaut who went to the moon. And he's, because some of NASA's research into ceramics, because they use ceramics on the tiles for the shuttle and all that, we see that ceramics is going to be ideal to make this thing very, very lightweight, and it'll just make the thing beautiful, because we can see it as something that weighs a fraction of any other power system on Earth and churn out thousands of volt, whatever you want. Okay, just to give you another example, the one we're going to produce first, okay, is one that'll be 4 foot in diameter, okay, about 1.1 metre or whatever it is. You understand feet and metres,
yes.
I'm sure you do. Okay, about 4 feet in diameter. That'll produce about 20,000 volts and 100 amps. Now, if you drop that amps down to 200, the volts down to 220 volts, and you can drive 300 American homes with something you can put in the back of a pickup.
Yeah.
So you're talking about, and what I see is the future of houses, for example, the future developments of home theirs. I see every house having its own generator without any, the grid system. And of course with the smart card, we're the ones who are getting the money, not the electric companies. And if the electric companies want more power, we can power their grids if they need more power. So there's a whole series of ways we can do it that way. And of course, from the real human side of this thing, and because of my belief as a Christian, and in the medicine, when I've seen people so sick, I see the people in Africa, in Ethiopia, some who are starving. I mean, a little tiny generator could change their life. I mean, they can have a heating element already built onto that thing. They can cook their food on that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, at night time, 5 o'clock every night in Ethiopia, the biggest market is selling sticks and cow dung. That's the biggest growth market at a point. But they're running out of sticks, and the cows are getting constipated too, so it's getting pretty serious. You understand me? So I see that there's going to be that's more to do with the World Bank and the third world countries, and we can maybe, once we get rolling, we can afford to be benevolent in that area. Because I see the West is going to pay for this, okay? They're paying for it now. So this is the other side of the coin, where it's going to bring some equality to mankind, and that's one of the special things for me, to see a balance.
Yeah.
You know, those who've got nothing we can help, those who've got everything we're going to make a cleaner LA, and we're going to make a cleaner Athens and Tokyo and other places.
I believe we have very similar interests.
Wonderful, Peter.
Otherwise, there would be no reason to do something like that.
Exactly, because you can see it's going to change the world.
Yes.
This, of all the inventions right through history, sure, the Wright brothers changed the world, and Edison changed the world, and a few other things. And interestingly, I was asked a question the other day. We've actually, because it's funny, people think, no, this is rigged. There's something under the floor, there's something on the roof, no, there's a microwave dish we've got to point at. Trust me, there's nothing like that. We put the generator in a Faraday cage, which is totally sealed from everything.
Yeah.
And okay. And if you get a metal ball or a glass marble, and you hold it in that Faraday cage and you let it go, it's going to fall. Because gravity's still pulling it regardless of the Faraday cage and the shielding. And you put the generator there, totally seal it up, so nothing can touch it, and that thing will kill you. Okay? Because it's gravity that's a phenomenon, and that's, you know, when you think of it, it's an awesome force. It really is an awesome force, but we don't consider it as a force because it's like it's sort of something we get used to. As General Charles Duke said to me, he said, Brian, you only realise how powerful gravity is when you've stood on the moon at 1/6 gravity and you can jump with a 150-pound backpack up in there like this. But when you come back here, you can't jump. And so that's what makes this exciting, because it'll work, we see it working underwater to power whatever underwater. Because it's nothing to do with the sun. It'll work underwater at midnight, is one of the statements I've made before. So,
and to 50,000 feet.
Well, no. We see it up to 100 miles up in space that this thing will work, because it seems like 100 miles is where a satellite can be actually pulled out of orbit. You know, 100 miles up, a satellite comes into that and down she comes. So maybe there's a limit at some point there, Peter, and it's not really a problem that we're faced with. We've got an earthly problem to look after. Forget about the space, okay? So, and of course, being a pilot, I'd love to see aircraft engines that don't make any noise. I think everybody gets sick and tired of noise. Mack trucks, runways, aeroplanes. I think everybody's looking for a quieter world. These freeways are a nightmare. They must be. And you imagine standing at the lights, you know what I'm talking about, standing at the lights, 100 cars pumping out all that poison. And of course with the generator you can have the electric motor still running with the air conditioner and your power brake, your power steering and all those sort of things, but there's nothing coming out the back. Nothing coming out the back. You put an accelerator and away you go. So this will be quieter than a Rolls Royce. What can I say? I mean, there's no limit to its applications. Anything you can think of, Peter, that I haven't thought of, and I've thought a lot of them, is electric motors are usually very reliable, okay? And if it means electric motor that drives whatever. So I just see some exciting days ahead for it. And you're the first group in the world to have that opportunity. How we came together, God only knows, because he's the one running the show anyway. All right?
I believe a major problem to overcome will be to protect this kind of, to protect the whole thing. Yeah?
In what way, Peter?
You see, because you have a development now in some certain stage, and you're going to commercialize that to some certain stage again.
Yes, correct.
And to ensure that no one is able to copy that in some certain way.
Well, what I've done, Peter, just to answer the question, I know you were going to talk about intellectual property and protection. after the experience with the Collins engine and spending $3 million on patents, I'm an expert on patents. I know more about patent technology than any other person in the world today, I would have thought, because I'm working in some major breakthrough areas. I've got an electrical engineer who's a patent attorney in Australia, who I consider one of the most brilliant patent attorneys, and we've already taken steps to secure the intellectual property. And the other step that I'll do as part of the next phase with your involvement is the smart card interface reader, like the reader for the smart card. In there will be built the two key components, and you'll notice on the big one you might have seen those two round, there's wires of little round objects. They are the devices that tune the device to gravity, and they can be built so that if it's tampered with, it implodes.
Yep.
It totally shuts down, and there's no way you'll get it going. Once those things, and there's nothing left. Once they implode, there's nothing left. So you can't work out what it is. So we'll have patent security enough to confuse everybody. We'll have in the actual technology itself, because the smart card and the smart card reader is where the secret will lie. The ring, an Ethiopian with two arms could make it. Okay, so really, and you can make that either diameter-wise or lengthwise to get the same winding surface area. So you can make it in a variety of round shapes to fit the application. All right. So hopefully I've answered the question of the intellectual property and the security of that. I can guarantee timing. Absolutely. But I've taken great care. Because I know there'll be every Japanese, and I'm not racially prejudiced, but I know the Chinese and the Japanese, they tend to want to try and get around things a little bit. Who actually in Perth, okay? Hey? Yeah, David Harrow. I've actually met him and seen him in a private room playing the piano. My colleague Stephen is that sort of genius. He's a very terrified, because only a week ago he had a death threat, so there's some little bit of frights around the place, and I've been bashed and nearly killed a while back. So we tend to be trying to play this thing down and keep it as quiet as possible. Yes. I personally think, and I say this, I don't know what your convictions or understandings are, this is the evilest nation on the face of this earth. There's things going on here that I can tell you about that are terrifying, but I won't go into that now. And this is why I want to, as quickly as possible, move. Initially, for the short while, we'll do the final bits and pieces here, because Stephen lives here, and I'll lock him away with my brother. You saw young Wayne there. Wayne's my brother-in-law. Yes. He's very special to me. And Bill Patterson, you saw the tall fellow, he's the most experienced pilot on the face of this earth. He's done 30,000 flying hours. There's more decorations, but no one's heard of him, but he's very special, okay? So I got some nice people around me. And I lost my train of thought, Peter. But coming back to Stephen, he's really doesn't feel comfortable with people. It's like, that's why I had to walk in there quietly, no big thing. I said, okay, away you go, and bang, 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 and I just talk and explain things, and he'll just do the bits and pieces. So he'll be happy to, he just wants, because he got security guards that look after him 24 hours a day, and so he'll ring me later on, but he'll be delighted that we've got a chance of moving forward. Yes. That's all we want to do is get good partners who are going to be part of this thing, because who knows what this could lead to, Peter. Once we get going and you get this thing rolling, maybe there won't be anybody else I need to do anything, because there's a world waiting for the breakthrough like this. And when I listen to all the pollution stuff and Clinton and all this sort of thing, they've got to get the pollution level down by 20% and all these things. And I thought, boy, I don't know what I'm doing, these guys. We'll get it down to better than 20%.
Yeah.
So, Peter, that's basically
the story. Okay. You see, I believe we are quite lucky to be in Singapore and in Switzerland.
Ah,
I guess
fascinating.
it's,
I love it.
It's quite a good place to start something like that.
Sure, because I'm sure the government of Singapore, they do everything to try and help you. I think they give you tax holidays and good.
I believe that's not what is important.
No.
I believe it's much more, because I have all the documentations with me, you know. What is, let's call it EDB, the Economic Development Board.
Yes.
And I met these people.
Okay.
And I had serious discussions about building a factory in Singapore for small car production. You know?
Okay.
That was before I met Bruce.
Yes.
And they actually basically agreed to give me a pioneer status in Singapore.
Is that
for
right? Marvelous.
And that means, in other words, we would definitely get the same status for your product.
Absolutely.
You know?
Wonderful. Yeah.
And that means that we would have full government support. That means that they would...
credibility.
Yep.
Ooh.
And not only that, as you know much better as I, you have to get some certain licenses to get it on the market.
Exactly.
And if you are not somehow related or whatsoever to the government, it will be very difficult.
Exactly. And I see your connections in the government areas. Obviously, there's a lot of people that you know at that level, and that's the part that I don't have. We've got the intellectual brains and genius and all that, but it needs the business people who can pull it together and make it a commercial.
Yes, and I believe it would be, as it is very powerful, it would be advisable to have it in a country like Singapore.
Exactly.
Switzerland.
Then you've got a government of a nation behind you. When you get a government of a nation, then people take some respect. If it's a private enterprise, then who knows? The government will defend us.
Yeah, sure.
They'll have an army looking after us.
And I was talking to Bruce when he came back from Malaysia. You know, I said, good people in Malaysia, no question. But they are still good 3 years later. Who knows?
Singapore, to me, is special because I suppose I've seen, and you have, Peter, and all of you have seen, that country come from, it's like the smallest nation on the face of this earth, come from nothing to 100 billion in credit, and the finest airline fleet. I only fly Singapore Airlines anyway, okay? And
that's true.
The finest managed country. I've seen that country come from nothing to a magnificent.
They have been thrown out. They have been thrown out of Malaysia years ago. You know, they have nothing.
And this is why
Singapore Airlines have.
Have they? Yeah, I bet they have. Yeah, is that right? But see, and I agree with you, Peter. So to me, I'm delighted with the Singapore story. I couldn't be happier.
Me too. I'm really.
So that's wonderful.
So I believe the basics are quite right.
Right.
And you know, as you have seen, the background of our company is very similar, you know. We did a lot. All the products have been developed by us before. So now this is quite a new area for us because we never went into such cooperation.
That's okay.
We developed everything by ourselves, and we manufactured everything by ourselves, and sold everything by ourselves.
That's okay, Peter.
So,
but
that's something new to
That's new to you, but I see that this is a team effort. I see that whatever knowledge and what I don't have, I know I can come to you and say, Peter, look, I need to get this scientist or this expert, and I'm sure that you can get the right man very quickly.
Sure.
So we can get not just a scientist, the world's full of scientists, but getting the right people that are people of integrity.
Yes.
Because we can have some very special people on this, because let's face it, the academics of this world, and I'll tell you what happened as an exercise. Because I just want to, as a trial, I thought history has never changed really. From the Wright brothers, a physicist told the world, the New York Times, that man could never fly because at 60 miles an hour, the wind pressure on his ribs would cause his eyes to pop out and it would be impossible to fly. That was a profound statement. And we all know that's all stupid, okay? And of course the Edison story was exactly the same. So that's why the academic community are the ones that are going to be staggered, but it's suddenly the holy grail of physics, I said, because there's no scientific basis of what we've cracked that they understand. And as a trial, there were some people in Perth in Western Australia who were very keen to get involved. I didn't like them very much, but I thought, oh well, they were going to do something, and I thought, well, it'd be worth an exercise to prove my point. They hired an academic of some standing, electrical scientist, and then when the scientist came into the room to see it, first of all I told him, I said, you're either going to be the world's greatest scientist because you'll make a statement that's going to change the world and give you all the honours the world can ever give you, otherwise I said you're going to be totally destroyed. And I said, if history is any gauge, I said, I see the earlier statement I made to be the actual end result. And that's exactly what happened. He was terrified. He held in his hand what you did today. He held, now you knew that was alive, that.
Yes.
And with nothing in there shaking, that's solid state, that thing. But you can see there's something making that go. And it's because the Earth's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And that gyroscopic effect is because the Earth is spinning and you're getting this gyroscopic phenomenon, because as you turn it, the lines of gravity are sort of affecting it. Okay? This scientist brought all his own wires, he bought his own light bulbs, he bought he had a bag this big with every electronic, his own voltmeter even. He did 19 tests and he blew it, totally blew it. There's people in Perth that are going to sue him for billions, you know. You can't make those sort of mistakes and take someone's money and not deliver the goods, you know. And that was just an interesting exercise, and I thought history's never changed, and the academics, unfortunately, have always made some deadly mistakes. But I wasn't looking to hurt an academic, I was just interested in him. And yeah, I've got someone at Sussex University I consider the best in the world, with credentials as long as your arm, from a very famous university. He said, Brian, I would consider it the greatest honour to certify this so the world can know all those stupid questions they'd asked about safety. Another interesting, Peter, just a question on safety. If you get a EMF meter and put it near the generator, it produces 0.1 milligauss. Nothing. You put it on the television set, it produces 12. So it's interesting that the very device, because what it's really doing, it's not cracking the atom and nothing. All we're doing is pulling the power straight from under our feet and causing those electrons to flow. And so I've had some interesting exercises with this, and today I consider maybe a very special day in my life in meeting you. And I was looking forward to meeting you and Stephen and Buzz. I know all your names. I've read them up backwards, I can tell you. Okay. And it's been wonderful to know Bruce, and his great enthusiasm as a marine engineer has caused all this to culminate into this meeting today. So it's something very special to me.
To us for sure too. And as I said already, we are just lucky to live in Singapore. I guess that's fantastic in my opinion, because you also, until you can go public with this thing, you know, in a way, you have to do a lot, you know. You have to produce thousands of these things or whatsoever, you know, until you can go out.
Exactly.
And until this day, actually no one should know what you are doing.
Peter, I agree with you absolutely. I believe what I want to do is basically disappear. In a way, disappear as far as the world's concerned. I'll be always talking to you. No, you and I can talk any time. And really what I was thinking, once we get rolling, every 30 days I'd like to meet you somewhere in the world. Doesn't matter where it is, so we can privately sit down and I can brief you. Rather than talk over a phone that someone can listen to, I'd rather meet you, sit down, Peter, and this is where we're up to today. So you'll get a briefing all the time from me, and everything I say, Peter, you can absolutely trust, because I'm one of those persons of integrity, and Bruce will tell you, one day, as I said, one day I've got to stand before the King, and I don't want to do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Just an aside issue which interests me, Brian. tell the gentleman here about your phone through the ground. I know we're talking about generator, but I'm getting to know Peter and Steve.
Okay.
And this is unique again.
What I did, Peter, after we made this breakthrough, there was some Russian scientists. I know the man that put Yuri Gagarin in space. He's a personal friend of mine. Okay, that's a long time ago. He's 76 years old and a lovely man. And they heard about some of my work, see, and they actually invited me to Moscow. I met the astronauts just before they went to the space station. It was fascinating to see all these gigantic rockets and goodness knows what else. But they were intrigued with what I was doing, and they were doing some interesting work in the area of a new communication breakthrough, and they've asked me to handle it for the world. It uses a new phenomenon altogether that doesn't use any radio waves. It's a new physics, totally never seen or heard of before in the history of science and physics. The actual wave travels at 8 times the speed of light, and it'll travel to solid mass. That means if we could get it in the Swiss Alps, okay, and I had a telephone on one side of the mountain and you were 50 miles or 100 miles, 1,000 miles away on the other side, straight through solid, it doesn't need line of sight. It goes straight through direct. That means if you were the other side of the earth, I could talk to you crystal clearly at a penny a minute. I think we'd upset some of the communication companies. I mean, it's going to revolutionise communication there. So I just see, and the generator, of course, would supply the power. So that's something else. So I see that all the things I'm doing, this is the beginning of a relationship.
Yes,
okay?
Absolutely.
And all the things that as I come, because I've got some other exciting...
Just touch on the jetmobile too.
Yeah, okay. And because being a pilot, anything that flies, and like Buck Rogers, you know Buck Rogers? So one of the other devices I developed as well was a new... You know about hovercrafts?
Yes.
Well, this thing actually, it works in a new... It uses a toroidal physics of air. Like if you can picture a donut of air spinning in a donut, okay? And it only takes 1/10 of the power of a hovercraft for this to lift awesome tonnages. And how it works, as soon as you're just sitting there like you're driving a car. It can go on land or sea. It can go where there's earthquakes and floods, where no one else can go, pick people up, and you can build it for the cost of a four-wheel drive out of carbon fibre and Kevlar and that sort of thing. But it travels 2 to 3 metres above the land or sea, and the only skirt it has is air. Okay? And all it does is it lifts up, the nose drops forward 5 degrees. It's a circular device, okay? And we've got a variety of designs. And it can travel up to between 120 kilometres an hour up to 750 kilometres an hour. The largest one, and I'll give you just sort of general examples. The small one would carry 5 people, all of us in it, 3 metres in diameter, 600 kilograms of luggage at 120 to 150 kilometres an hour across land or sea. It'll hover dead still, it'll land on the water, take off from the water. So I see many applications for something as simple as that, because you don't have to touch the waves. I mean, if you're 100 miles out to sea catching fish and the weather blew up, you can be back home real fast. But I see as a recreation thing, it'd be exciting, and I see the generator obviously powering that.
And it's so precise you can just drive it into a car park.
You can steer it like a surgeon's scalpel. You can actually precisely, there's no wings,
no tail,
no feathers, no fins, nothing. If you look at it, you think, how can you control it precisely? But this is just another breakthrough that I made.
And you've got a prototype flying.
I actually got a model that's built, okay? Yeah. So these are just applications that I can see for the generator, because I'm an innovator, Peter. I see all the answers. I don't see any problems.
Yeah.
To me, everybody else is working out the problems, and I've already got the answers nutted out. But that's the part of being an innovator. You're not trained to be an innovator, you're a born innovator. It's something that's there. I mean, I said to Bruce, I found out the law of gravity at the age of 5 years old when my Father Christmas bought me a carpentry set in India. I climbed up a tree, I was sitting on a branch, but the only problem was I was sitting on the outside of the branch and I was cutting and I found out the law of gravity at the age of 5. Okay. So that's how I found out. But those are just funny little stories about my life. So those are just, and there's a variety of other things we've done, because when I look at the third world countries, I see problems with water is a big problem with potable, clean drinking water. One of the other devices we got with the generator, we can produce 5 gallons a minute with a little device that's that small of pure water straight from the atmosphere. It converts the water in the atmosphere straight to 5 gallons a minute of running water. And so you can imagine what that would do. So that means you could build a home in the middle of the desert with its own power system, with its own water system and telephone system, and no wires, no pipes, no nothing. So we could, for developing countries, wouldn't it be marvellous? You could build a home in 5 minutes, and there's materials that we've developed in Australia that we can that are available now, where we can actually build a total home from a product made from oil, and it looks like timber, it cuts like timber. So there's some interesting peripheral things that I see packaging up into a home, and I'll say a funny statement, a home that you can squeeze out of a toothpaste tube, you know, and it's got everything in it. You don't need any wires or anything. But I see that as the future to speed up the development of low-cost housing for the developing countries, and of course, you know, the Western world that's already got power in every house.
And Brian won't acknowledge it, Peter, but people are recommending for a Nobel Prize for some of his research. He doesn't want it, but people already...
about the Nobel Prize, Peter. I can't even spell Nobel Prize. So I'm not really... I'm not a person that's looking for world accolade. The greatest joy I'm going to get, Peter, is to see a little Ethiopian child that's got a full tummy, that's healthy, and has got a quality of life. That's going to be the great joy that I'm looking for. Not the billions of dollars. They're going to just come. But we're going to have the wealth to do many things. So that's what I see. Many wonderful things going to come.
I told Bruce earlier, you know, I mean, if we're going to work something out, at least you see your machine fly one day.
Oh, no question. I'll see it flying one day. In an airplane, being a pilot, I mean, I couldn't think of what's great to put the throttle forward. You can't hear any motor. You can see the rev counter coming up, and you can lift off. And I said to Bruce, you don't run out of gas with this thing. You just run out of credit.
Yes, that's right.
But I even planned that one, Peter, because I said you wouldn't want. I mean, we would lose all our credibility if we had this driving an ambulance and I ran out of credit on the freeway and someone died in the ambulance. I think we would lose all our credibility. So I see with the smart card, we can have an override system in it. So that means they can override it to a certain point, and when they recharge it with credit, it just all balances up. So I've thought of everything I think, but I'm sure with your skills and as a team, there'll be many things I haven't thought. And that's what makes it a team effort of some people with the like minds working to a goal of getting this ready for a variety of areas. And I don't know which is the best market and where to start as far as that's concerned. But those are the decisions you've got to make.
Peter, can you come back to Brian? One of the things that both you and Stephen said to me, that you see the generator as a platform to reposition your company as basically number 1 or number 2 in regards to smart. That's a mission statement for yourself. Is that correct or not? Or
yes, it is partly correct, Bruce.
Yes.
You see. First of all, what I said earlier, you know, I mean, if you do such a project, you know, that's that's mainly not because of money, you know.
No,
Otherwise
exactly.
you don't have to touch it, you know.
Exactly.
Because there are other ways to make money probably faster and easier, and yeah, you don't need a lot of security around you and things like that that we're probably gonna need in the future.
Oh, I'm sure.
So because it will be dangerous
Yes.
to go through this early stage.
Yeah, I think we've got to be ready. I
Yeah.
think we've got to have.
Yeah.
It's like having your cannon loaded and having everything right.
Yes.
Because when you fire the first bullet, the world's going to know,
Yeah.
and we want to make sure that we can
Yes.
follow through and
Yes,
have
and
everything
then,
in place.
then you better be sure you are in the right country with the right government support.
As far as I'm concerned, I love it.
Right. I think we get something going.
Good stuff.
I'm very sure.
Good stuff.
So-
So, I'm looking forward to it, Peter. Because to me, you're seeing the real Brian Collins. I don't put on any acts. You're seeing the real person. And my little team around me, I've got a very special little team who will be dedicated, committed, and we will do all the things we set out to do. We've got this far
Yes.
with 3 people. With some of your team help, and we can get a little faster. Okay? So I just see it as a team effort, not trying to do it on my own. But basically the steps I would like to do, Peter.
Excuse me, Brian, do you have any questions at all, Steve? You haven't said...
Stephen hasn't said anything, he's listening.
Before he goes to the next steps, do you have any questions of Brian?
Okay, what I'm saying is, the steps I see now is if you commit and the funds start to flow, then we can over the next 6 months do all the final bits that we need to do with the ceramics and all those bits and pieces, and during that time I'll be spending time with you so that we can look at the smart card interface development to get it so we can bring everything together at the same time, see? So that's how I see it. That's going to be a critical part of the cash flow back to us.
Yes.
Okay? And everybody will be trying to get around that, I can tell you. They'll be trying to short circuit that thing past the smart card, I can tell you. So we're going to make sure that's the secure piece. The generator is really incidental, but it'll do what it's supposed to do.
I believe that's why the most important part for us in the moment, especially for our part, will be to secure the help of the EDB in Singapore.
No trouble.
And, we're going to do that.
Look, Peter, as far as I'm concerned, it's a team effort. I will support you 100%. Wherever you got to be, or whoever we got to meet, it's like we can meet them together, and so it's a team effort. I see.
I believe these 3 parties, if your party and my party and maybe this EDB,
fantastic.
then I think we are in this.
I mean, EDB in Singapore is maybe the most progressive entity in Singapore. They're looking for opportunities.
I just told him the same story.
Exactly. They're looking for the opportunities, and as I say, some people would see this today. I mean, like a lot of people could have witnessed that today, but most people wouldn't have seen it. They would have think there's a con going on. There ain't no con going on. You felt it, you saw it, that thing's real. And I could take that anywhere. We could take that in the middle of a car park in LA here. We could take it anywhere. It doesn't matter where you take it, it still produces the same voltage and all that stuff. And these are little test, like demonstration models. But they take a little bit of effort to put together, you can believe me. But when you think the most profound invention in the world, and you saw it in its absolute infancy as far as the finished thing, but it would still always look that shape. At least we'll have some whistles and bells on them, so it'll look a bit better later on. Okay? And I just can't wait to get going there, because
Brian, one of the questions raised is that what the gentleman just seen, you believe what's out there will run to infinity, subject to corrosion or earthquake or whatever.
As far as I'm concerned, Peter, if we decided, forget the smart cards, if we build a generator and turned it on and made it out of the right materials that would corrosion proof and all those sort of issues, material science, that thing, till the day God turns gravity off, that thing will still be running. Everything, the house might have fallen down, everything else, the white ants would eat the house, the generator will still be running because there's nothing to fail.
Yep.
And as I said, it'll be more reliable than any other system. It doesn't rely on jets and fuel injectors and spark breakers and all
Fossil
these
fuels.
101 other things. And I've invented the best car engine in the world, so I know all that stuff. And I've made my engine obsolete, Peter. And it's just going in a Mercedes and Porsche car now.
Yeah.
My engine's about to go in a
Yeah.
Mercedes and Porsche. So they've just asked us for test engines, which gives me credibility as an
Yes.
innovator, and they're just doing that in Perth now. I actually resigned off my board of the public company because my Queen's Counsel, you know what a Queen's Counsel is?
Yes, yes.
He said to me, and he's a Christian man, he said, Brian, he said, you've got a really a grave conflict of interest now, he said, and I realised that. And he said, Brian, you should resign from the board of your public company. And I don't want to hurt mine. That's my baby, Peter.
Oh, yes,
it's
sure.
my baby. But I realised I had to let it stand back and let it all happen because this was the ultimate that I'd worked towards. But I don't want to hurt anybody.
Yes.
You know? And so it's been, you know, that's just having a bit of fact of life. But the engine, rather interesting, Peter, and with all the experience you've had, sure, we've made the odd mistakes to learn. But the engine was like a learning curve for me in the world of patents and business and all that. With my background, Peter, I'm the highest qualified welder in Australia. I can weld upside down, hanging by my feet. I can weld as neat upwards. You see your face in it. I'm still very skilled at that. And I was proud of that because I became the best there was because I'm a perfectionist, you know. So that's my background. If people ask me what I say, I'm a welder. So there you go. I've done a couple of other things as well.
Brian, would you clarify for the gentleman here today also on the revenue stream that whatever country in the world the generator goes to, it'll be 50% cheaper than any other.
Well,
your principles.
Basically, what I'm saying is, Peter, let them, as I said to Peter and Stephen and that before, is it whatever the commercial people decide is the best way to do it. I've always thought if we could go to the world at something a lot cheaper, maybe that's the wrong way to go. I don't know, but from my point of view, no matter what price we step, we're still in front.
Yes.
Because the minute that thing goes out there, it's earning us revenue. Okay, so that's for the commercial people. My marketing man in Melbourne, I consider one of the finest in the world. He's developed a very unique formula that he's tested over 30 years, and you'll meet them one day. There's a family and two sons who happen to be specialists in the Asian explosion that's about to happen. And they've got a very unique formula that can tell us exactly the right figure per kilowatt to charge in every country, so we can keep it all balanced with the gross GDP and all that sort of thing. And that's very special, that is. So we'll let the market, you know, that's what I say, that's a decision I wouldn't make, but I would let you, and I will talk about it and get some expert advice, because we don't want to get someone gunning for us, because we've done something so crazy that everything goes bankrupt around us. So there's got to be a balance in what we do. So, but I'd like to think that energy is nearly like a birthright. We live in a world. Yesterday they had sticks they rubbed together to get a fire. Today everything's turning switches on and turning keys on, and you got power. But it still always comes back to energy. Somewhere, some dynamo driving the wires to the city. Atomic power, which is disastrous, and of course this is going to change all that. This is. If you want to produce a billion kilowatts, Peter, you can produce a billion kilowatts with this thing, but it would only be about 1/100th of the size. So you can just see we could change a lot of the infrastructure of the world safer. Sure, there's going to be the odd bit of opposition, but I think we've got enough muscle, because the push of the whole of mankind is saying, hey, the planet's on its knees. If we don't do something, the only place we can live, we're going to destroy. So I think there's a lot of that thinking going on now. So I think that there'll be a good balance, and it'll take a lot of discussions to do what's fair and reasonable. We'll make immense wealth out of it. We won't have to worry about the money, but at least the world's everybody going to benefit. Say if we charge half for the power that people pay today, that means everybody can be more productive. Because that means the energy costs down, they can be more productive. So it's we can increase productivity and cash flow for everybody. So there's many opportunities, and those are just my thoughts. So I would leave others to decide those issues, but that would just be my thoughts.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
I would think of the sinister people of this planet would think this is so exciting, we're going to charge twice as much for the power and all this sort of thing. But to me, I don't want to see us ever do anything that I would consider evil and greedy. We don't have to be. I mean, even with this telephone system that we've got, I mean, we could undercut AT&T and everybody else on the face of this earth, and they'll be on their knees trying to talk to us, Peter. Because, but you don't want to. There's got to be a balance, because you don't want to put thousands of people out of work, because then you're going to get an army of people chasing us. So there's got to be some line, that fine line, to bring it in, so we're going to get the support of the world rather than the animosity. That's the reason why one of my team developed this timber from oil, because we could see they're the ones getting the biggest revenue out of the oil, and with the generator gradually diminishing the requirement of gasoline in time. That's going to be a long time, but anyway, at least I think this can happen very speedily, I think, once we get going, because everybody will want it like yesterday, okay? So I just see that some of those issues of where the Arabs' cash flow would diminish in time, at least by this product that we developed, you can build houses and everything out of this, and I'll show it to you when I'll meet you next time. I'll show you this product. It's amazing, absolutely amazing, and you'd swear it's timber. You look at it and you think it's teak or pine or whatever you want. It feels like it. And you can cut it and glue it and screw it and whatever you want to do to it, and you can leave it out in the Mojave Desert for 50 years and it won't change one fraction. It'll still look the same colour 50 years later. So I see that as balancing the oil story a bit, so they can still sell the oil for building products rather than blowing it into the heavens every day and polluting the planet. So I've tried to plan this thing as carefully as possible, so the potential enemies, we haven't even made any enemies. We're obviously doing this in a way that will bring some balance into the thing,
I think that's very important.
Isn't it important? Because otherwise someone's going to, for $100, someone's going to try and shoot you. I mean, look what Ayatollah Khomeini, he wrote a book, and they want to cut his head off for $3 million, And
Not Ayatollah, Rusty.
Rusty. What did I say?
You said
Ayatollah Khomeini's death sentence on Rusty.
Rusty, yeah.
Yeah, well, see, and that was just an incident about their belief. So we know how dangerous it can be, and I think it's hopefully with the wisdom that we all have, we'll do this in the nicest possible way. Because I'd like to think, in the finish, the world will stand in awe of us doing something absolutely right because of what we believe, our belief in mankind, and hopefully brings some sense into the world. At the moment, it's a world going headlong to disaster, as you know, Peter. And it'd be wonderful to think that we as a team, with the government of a nation, and the impact we're going to make is going to be exciting. And I think a lot of people will just want to just be part of this in some way. And that's the joy I see out of this. The money won't be the issue. I think there'll be more money than you'd ever believe. And money won't even be an issue,
No, I don't think that's the issue.
No.
Yeah. You see, I believe 10 days from now, we know much more already about how to form our...
Sure. Exactly. Because now you've got an idea. From our point of view, we see 6 months, and pretty well we've allowed 12 months just to make sure we cover everything. And I'll be working closely with you on the smart card and all that sort of thing, so we'll bring it all together, and we'll do the final work in the US here for the next 6 months, because Stephen mother's dying of cancer. She doesn't want any type of treatment that I can give her. So it's like some people got fixed ideas. They're determined they want to die, you know. So Stephen doesn't want to leave the US at the moment. So and he doesn't like flying anyway. So I said, okay, with the security and everything around him, and we can lock him away so everything will be right. And my brother-in-law Wayne, who's a wonderful young man, Wayne's going to be right alongside Stephen because he's a child prodigy, and his life on one side is a total disaster because usually child prodigies are genius at what they do. Everything else is like Hiroshima around them, you know. But that seems to be part of being a genius, you know. So I've got to get someone to look after him, and as long as someone's looking after him, he can sit in that room and do all the final bits and pieces with all the wires and electronic equipment that we'll have available. It'll just go so smoothly. We don't see any problems at all because we've never had any problems. The hardest problem was to crack the frequency of gravity. That was the hardest one. The rest of it's been easy. It's taken all these years, and we cracked the secret 2 years ago. The actual final secret, 2.25 years ago to be exactly, that we cracked the secret. And rather interestingly, I sort of feel that the larger generator, and I'm just telling you what I'm thinking now from the research I've done, the larger generator will tend to want to levitate. So it might weigh 1,000 kilograms, but in actual fact it'll only weigh 500 because it is a weightless phenomenon that comes because gravity, there's something we can't quite understand, so everything becomes a lot lighter than the mass that's actually there. So these are just some of the interesting things, Peter. So the biggest thing we've got to design is an anchor to keep it still, Peter.
Yes, I was just thinking about that before over there, you know.
Okay, so
if this thing is shaking now like that, you know.
But because that's only a baby one, but it's these things we believe that with the right materials and the precise wiring in a particular format, we can actually design that phenomenon out of it. So it's a bit like vibration.
Yes.
If you can cancel the other side out, then you're going to make it zero.
Yeah.
And those are just little things that we don't see those as any problems. So that's just the elementary things. Because when I think of someone like you, Peter, who's run an empire for many, many years, that most probably was part of your father's empire. I don't know how it started, but it's like...
Explain
it's
that
like,
too.
how can I put it? It's like David meeting Goliath. You know what I mean? That's how it feels to me.
Yes.
You might think it's the other way around, but it's like David meeting Goliath. But I'm not fighting you this time. We're friends. Okay. And it's like having the right business people around you, because they're the people that are going to make it happen. I'm talking about the world's get it. The technical team behind it around here, I don't want the world to know me or see me or anything about me. They can talk to you. I don't really want anybody to know anything about me at all because I'm not interested in publicity.
We have a very similar interest. That's why we like to have the ETP on board.
Wow.
You know, because we don't want to be there either.
I don't want to, because I don't want to. I said to Bruce, all I want to do is go fishing. I like fishing. I'm not interested in anything, you know. I've got a simple life where my children are grown up. I've got 2 little grandchildren.
And a wonderful wife.
And even though life's been strange, how life happens. Always, we've all got our own story about life. But as I look back over my life, and in 1980, Peter, when I nearly died with a massive heart attack, the day before my heart attack, my doctor said, Brian, there's nothing wrong with you. The next day, I was that close to losing my life. I had the biggest heart attack ever recorded in Western Australia. Okay? And I'll tell you what, they nearly lost me, but the King was looking after me, and he had different plans for me. And it was an amazing experience where in 6 weeks of intensive care, And the final 2 minutes of my life, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, because that's when God, I just saw this vision, and I heard this voice, and he said, Brian, I don't intend to take your life, I just want to get your attention. And that changed my whole life. My heart was fixed just like that. The doctors were looking at the oscilloscope, and suddenly they thought they could see it was going like this and ready to stop, and suddenly it just took off perfect rhythm. And I'm a licensed, instrument-rated pilot today, Peter, after having massive heart attack, quadruple bypass surgery. They took my heart out, they cut a big chunk out of the side of it because the heart muscle had died, and I don't look like I've been sick, do I?
Nope.
Because that's some of the research I did into recovering people's health. And I've got a system that I'll get all of you guys on, and I can guarantee you won't drop dead of a heart attack. You might get hit by a Mack truck if you don't watch yourself, but you won't die from a heart attack. So I've found some interesting phenomena in reversing AIDS and cancer and prostate cancer, and all those things can be done without drugs or surgery or anything at all. That's another part of my life. But I want to see some of those things come too, because there's people terrified out there, think they're going to die of cancer tomorrow. I know what causes it. So I approach medicine from an alternative approach. Rather than the drugs and surgery and that approach, I've got a test that I do on the urine, Peter. And in 2 minutes I'll tell you any symptom you've got without asking you one question. And I'll be 100% right. I'll tell you if you've got a lower back pain or headaches, anything, you can actually see it from the urine, and we found the blood was totally useless. But that's just another part of my life where I've touched thousands of lives in West Australia, and people. One man came to me a little while ago, he was 67 years old, he'd had second bypass surgery and he was having chest pains, okay? And the doctor said, look, sorry, we can't do anything more for you now, it's all over. And 67 is not that old, okay? And he heard about me, he came to me, I did a test, and I didn't know anything about him at all. And I told him he was having chest pains and everything else. He said, Brian, I can't walk more than 50 paces without having an anginine under my tongue. I put him on my program, he's never used another anginine, and his whole life has changed, because I found a way of clearing the arteries from the inside without surgery. Nothing, intervention. And so this is some of my other part of my life, which is interesting. Let's face it, if you knew that you're going to drop dead in a week, Peter, you'd like to know if I could stop that happening. And I've never missed, I've never lost. And an interesting experience I had, because I did all my studies in the US with one scientist that made this breakthrough. And I went home to Australia, I tested my mother-in-law, who's very dear to me. I love my mother-in-law. Some people might like their mother-in-law, but I do love my mother-in-law. And I tested her, and her test shows she'd die in 5 days. And I could tell by the look of her face, the test showed it, she could feel it. And in 36 hours, Peter, I turned my mother-in-law's life around. Today she's 76 years old, and she looks about 21. So her whole life changed, but she would have died, there's no question, because this is a very precise science, this is. It's never been published, but I plan, as part of my work, to give humanity a better shot at life, to get them healthy without drugs, okay? Because what I do is correct the cause, not treat the symptom, okay? And that makes more sense. If you can get the cause right, well, the symptom will go away, see? So that was my philosophy on how I approach that. And I see, I'm working on designing a little software package, because everybody's got computers now. You just put this software in the computer, this little test takes 2 minutes to do, anybody can do it, and you punch the numbers in the computer and it will print out exactly what you need to do to prevent whatever your problem is. And that's quite fascinating too. That's a huge market in that. But that's just another part of my life. It's got nothing to do with the generator. But I'm just sharing with you the Brian Collins story so you can understand the empathy I have for people. And
Brian, at this stage, Peter, the only information that Brian knows about Dateweiler is what he's seen on the website.
That's all.
And what I've told him, what I've picked up from Chris and that. Do you want to give Peter is not the son, but I believe that you will be taking it over in time. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are probably we're gonna be a consortium.
Buzz, do you want to turn that air conditioner down there on the window? It's getting a bit cold and getting ice on your ears.
You
I
see
think just wind that knob there, Buzz.
what I'm probably gonna do, or most likely gonna do, is running the Asia Pacific region, because I have been the only one down there, as you know, I'm 15 years around Asia already, and Asia is quite different to any other place in the world, as we all know.
Oh, sure.
So I'm most likely gonna run that part down there. That is an idea where we all have.
Yes.
And the other parts of the world I'm not interested in, and there are other people there. They know much better about it.
Yes.
And the group is somehow on a size today where it cannot be run by one man anymore. It's just too many businesses.
We are about in your company,
yes.
I'm sure.
We're about 700,
Yeah.
Private company over 50 years, no government funding.
Marvelous. I think that's.
And I mean, the real owner today is 78 years old. Still in the company every day and still running the show. So as long as he can run the show, we are all happy.
But he does have a son, doesn't he? Somewhere in
Yes, he's in the States here.
In the States, all right. But does he have an interest in taking it over? Or?
Oh, he will definitely, yes, in a way, But he will not be alone. Probably going to be 4 or 5 people.
So Peter,
and you're one of those 4 or 5.
Yeah, more.
So Dateweiler, is it Dateweiler?
Yes.
Yes. So that's the entity would be the licensed entity.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yes.
And of course, and interestingly, all the countries that you've chosen, I can see you chose them mainly because you've already got your foot in the door.
Yes.
See, you already know you've already got offices in those places. And to me, I see to have someone like that, because I don't want to reinvent the wheel and go and knock on someone's door. I don't even know. They don't know me, but they know you.
Yes.
And it's like I don't want to waste any time.
Yes.
And this is why to get someone like yourselves who already know the ground rules.
Yeah.
Just let's get on with the job.
The point is, such a project we can't do in our company in Switzerland anyway. It has to be something new.
Yeah, exactly.
We are in a lucky position to have more and more work every day, and we hired 70 people more last year. And,
is that right?
And it looks like it goes further like that.
Yes.
So that is a completely new story. So then I say we just try to do it by ourselves down there.
Is it fair to say that the generator will be made in Zurich under a Swiss name?
You're not too sure. It doesn't matter anyway. No. Whatever you choose will be the best decision at the time.
I say to Steve today, we can't say that now. We have to go back to the EDB now.
Exactly.
We have to go back to the Chamber of Commerce in Switzerland, and we have to talk to these people.
Exactly.
And I believe we will have a great support from Singapore rather than from Switzerland.
Okay.
So in that particular case, there is not much choice. We will be in Singapore.
It's interesting you should say that, Peter, because I see Singapore as nearly like the centre of the earth right now, because everything seems to happen in Singapore. All the airplanes fly from there. It seems to be in a very unique strategic position in the world. And when Bruce told me about it, I thought, I'd shift to Singapore tomorrow, and I love the country. I don't like the air conditioning, but I tell you what, I've designed for Singapore, Peter. I've designed for Singapore, Peter. Okay, now this is the other side of Brian Collins you got here. I've designed a big glass dome that you can put over the whole country, and we've got a window in it so the jumbos can fly through when they come into land. Okay. But I'm just saying that.
Yes.
In actual fact, when I was 17 years old, Peter, I designed a totally air-conditioned suit. I could fit it into your clothes, and all I needed was a power source, but that took a lot of years later. But I can see that all clothing could be fitted with all the system, and you just either twist your ear or something to wind the controls up and down, and you could get your clothes exactly the right temperature. Don't matter what the outside temperature. So I see clothing even changing, boiler suits, people working in hot environments, in cold environments, they can adjust it. So, and I didn't intend to tell you all of these things, but it's just interesting. I've thought of many things of applications. So, you know, when you think of Singapore, it's a very sticky country, but if you can wind the air conditioner up in your suit, I mean, so that won't matter.
So you see, from our company, coming back about that rider, you know, when I was talking about that at home, you know, I mean, they are very interested and fascinated and things like that, but they can't do it, you know, there. It's impossible, you know. That was the reaction from the old man, you know.
Oh, okay.
They say, look, I'm fascinated and things like
this
that.
This is about the generator?
Yes, you know, but he can't do it, he said, you know. And said, Peter, if you can do it with these people down there or with our people somehow, you go ahead. But that's the story today.
Fair enough.
So they are so busy up there with their work, but they have today.
I can understand.
I like to leave them alone.
Alone, that's right.
And then we're going to start something completely new on that.
Wonderful.
So that's the idea today. And you see about flying and things like that. Max was flying since ever the owner of the company, you know. And you will see from the documentation where I will give you tonight.
Yes.
That we also have a conflict of interest because we also had developed an engine, but an engine for aircrafts.
Yes.
Because there was a demand for an engine where it's running on unleaded gasoline.
Yes.
Where the noise level is much lower.
Yes.
Because it all are air cooled, so we changed that to liquid.
Yes.
Unleaded, and the impeller rotation came down to help, and all these things,
yes.
so on. But we don't care if there is something new coming, is even better. So.
Well, see, I think so I've been through the similar experience with the Collins engine. It's my baby. You obviously did this thing, but suddenly this is something that suddenly changes the whole ball game.
Yes.
Whole ball game.
Absolutely.
And then you're talking about basically an aeroplane, as far as the engine is concerned, was one moving shaft with two bearings, a propeller. I mean, I'm putting it simply, but suddenly you got absolute reliability.
Yes.
I mean, bearings don't fail these days that much. And so I just see, and I'm looking forward to the day that I can test fly. Maybe I'll let someone else test fly, but you'd see an aeroplane. It's fascinating to have something with no noise, you know? Just gliding through the air like an eagle. You know? So, and of course, I see the other downside of this too, Peter. And this is one thing, and this comes down to any invention. If it's got the potential of being used for sinister and evil work, you'll bet your life someone's going to grab it to do that.
Sure.
I see the drug couriers going from Switzerland to Blimey all around the world with a smart card. They don't have to stop for gas anywhere. So there's some other sides to this thing that are really, we can't control everything, but I see some other sides that I think, oh boy, we're going to cause a nightmare. But the thing is, let's look at the good side of it. We can't, you know. So I see
the only side you can look at.
But because I just see, I'd love to see a world of peace and prosperity, and everybody getting a fair go. I doubt if it'll ever happen because there's too much evil in the world now. But hopefully this device might bring an interesting balance. I think it's going to be something that's going to level out, and I see it's going to have a wonderful impact. But it's going to take some special people to do it right.
And it has to be done out of some country with low political risk, you know.
Exactly.
If you do that out of a country like Indonesia or Malaysia.
Because there's too much.
I found that as I told you about Suharto, and you work with them too.
Well, you know, there's too much sort of, you know, this.
It's not only that, but
there's many other
things. That countries they have. How should I say? They have a very healthy self-confidence. They don't like to support different nations and things like that. You know, they want to keep it for themselves.
Well,
so
and of course, it's interesting, Peter. I see, like when I look at India, for example, the land of my birth, and I see the country that desperately, like Africa. I mean, it's the same story. I mean, it's destitution everywhere, and I see that energy in its tiniest form can change people's lives, for goodness sake, like nothing I know. And with this transport system with the new little flying machine I've got, I mean, one of the biggest problems is you and I can have the greatest intention in the world, but unfortunately some bandits on the road to stop the food getting through. But with the jetmobile, as they call it, we don't need roads. We can go any way we want. So I can see this. We could outfox the evil people, because there's someone going to always try. But I think we've got a chance with some technology there's no question it's going to have a wonderful impact.
Is it fair to say, Brian, Peter, at this stage, you've heard a lot about what Brian, where he's come from. You've travelled a long way, like we have to be here. What are the things that you want to close out in the next sort of 12 hours? With Brian, like to start setting an agenda there. I think
You see that to set the agenda,
Well, what are your requirements while you're here in LA?
Yes, you see, I told you already earlier.
Yeah.
This project can only come through if we have some support like
Yes.
the EDP.
Yeah,
Otherwise we will fail.
Exactly.
Even with all our resources
no
and
question.
with yours. And so this is a key part,
Yes.
And I believe within 2 weeks,
Yes.
I have these people together,
Yes.
and convinced that this is something
Yes.
to go for.
Yes.
Will this be in Singapore or in Zurich?
Both parties at the same
Right,
time,
right.
Okay,
but I want to see how the reaction is.
Okay. Yeah.
And our company is well known in Switzerland, so
Marvelous.
we have some
Credibility. Oh, no question.
So anyway, we will see how the reaction is.
Yes,
so
yes.
what I'm going to do, I'm going to report probably first time after a week how things are standing.
Okay, right.
And then we can plan how things can go.
Okay, sure.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
It's absolutely too early today
Exactly.
to do this agenda.
Yeah, that part of
No,
it.
I mean more your agenda while you're in this hotel.
I mean, as far as you're
Like,
concerned,
with time while you're
I mean,
here.
the most important thing for me is your group want to proceed
Yes.
with this thing, Peter.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's important to me
Today.
today.
Yeah.
Because I've actually bought 3 original MOUs, which you can
Yes.
re-sign. I'd like to sign
Yes.
the original ones.
Yes.
We can do all that together
Yes.
as witnesses and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And then I know
Yes.
we can roll.
Yes.
And that's what I'd like to see happen. And as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, I'm
Yeah.
delighted.
Yeah, because you see, as I told Bruce earlier, we alone, we cannot do it.
No, it's
Yep.
going to be team.
So if these people
Teamwork.
are coming,
Yes.
and if you bring your support, we
Oh,
can do it.
no
I'm convinced.
question.
But our company today, to take that project just in our company
It's just
is
been too much.
impossible.
Impossible.
First
No.
of all, the investment load
Hmm.
is not 175 million.
No,
the investment load
It's
is
a lot bigger than that.
double as that,
Yeah,
at least.
Sure, because
So
sure.
so we need people behind us too.
Correct.
We can't do that alone.
no,
So that's why we say, okay, let's see what is the best solution.
Yeah, okay.
We worked out some options with the banks
Yes.
and so on.
okay.
Have you settled upon one at this stage? You don't have to tell us, but have you...
We have.
Right.
I'm
some
sure
options.
that you've got
But
all
the
that.
point is, this is not a very healthy and preferred option.
Oh,
Okay, right.
Because the banks, anyway, it's going back to the States one day, end of the day,
Yeah.
And all the banks are controlled by the CIA.
Yeah.
So anytime someone can look into your books, whatever happened.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
we would really like to have the support of the EDB. If we have that,
Yeah.
the finances coming out of the reserve of Singapore.
Oh, okay. Now that's
So
fine,
that's-
Peter. So
That's the
if
plan.
so, do you see that all of that can happen reasonably quickly? Then?
Within 2 weeks,
Oh,
in my
okay.
opinion.
Okay.
Because the EDB, they can make a decision, a basic decision
Easy.
within 2 weeks, I'm
Oh,
sure.
okay,
If
right.
we have this basic decision,
Yeah. Okay.
we run.
Okay. Because we've got
Yeah.
because we're from my side, you'll have an absolute commitment. You can absolutely rely on me, Peter.
Our commitment is here, no question.
Oh, you wouldn't
only
be.
Only these people can stop us.
Okay, yeah.
If this support fails
And
or
I-
is not there,
Yes.
then we both have a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
We both have a problem.
Exactly.
Because it will be difficult to find a similar place.
Yeah.
Very
But
very difficult.
I agree with you that Singapore.
But it's very minimal percentage chance that's going to be
Yep.
stopped, though, isn't it?
Oh, the chance is very small.
Yeah, very, very small. Yeah.
I mean, this
Yeah.
is,
Because
so
I had contact already
You've
with
already done some groundwork.
But I only did it on my device, you know.
Yeah,
I
Oh,
only
right.
did it on the
Smart
smart
card.
card side. I never mentioned it about
Yeah,
that.
because, but now you can see the tie up with both
Yes.
together. It'll be
Sure, sure.
marvelous.
So why not at the same time?
Sure, okay.
But you know the way to present it and what words to use,
Oh,
which is be
Peter
more
would know.
acceptable. Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's such a new ball game, Peter. It's hard to. It's got to be. Needs people like with your experience in dealing with this to just present it in a package.
Yes.
And you couldn't even do it with a business plan properly
No.
because it's,
No.
this is a totally different ball game, is it?
Yeah.
You know.
But if these people make a basic decision,
Yeah.
then they're going to help us very much. They're
Oh,
going to do the planning, you know, they're going to
absolutely.
set up the special
Okay.
teams. And they have
Okay.
good people down there, believe me.
Do they go
I
away?
know that, but look, I've never met the government down there at all, but I've just seen the results of their efforts, and I love it. I mean, I'm going back to Singapore.
You were there last
you know,
Sunday.
Yeah, well, I know, but I just love it, and I'm having a few days break, because, you know, just to organise all this has taken a fair bit of effort, which is security and everything else,
Sure.
to look after my man. But, you know,
Are you going on the way back down through Singapore?
oh yeah, because I stayed here a couple of days.
But you're down in New Zealand next week.
Yes.
Yeah, very much will go with things to do. Because, anyway, okay.
So generally, as I said, from our side, we are committed.
Okay.
That's no question.
Okay.
The only one people that can stop us is the third party.
Yeah,
Mm.
okay.
So we
How many sit on that group or party? How many people?
This is a board.
The board, what?
Is it-
6, 8, 5?
Yes, yes.
Is it-
How many?
Yes,
yeah.
but you know, it's definitely headed by the Prime Minister.
Oh, yeah.
Culture.
And yeah, we just, for sure. And he's a
Yeah.
good man, too.
He's a
He is.
good man.
Oh, a good man. for
So
sure.
I wouldn't worry
I'm
too much
pleased.
about that. Because sleep.
Sleep peacefully.
I would say, don't worry about it. Don't worry about anything, Bruce. As far as I'm concerned,
One thing is
it's
sure,
wonderful to meet
you have to watch this gentleman because he will get a heart attack.
But
He
then
gets a heart
Bruce,
attack.
I know what Bruce is like, believe me. So you got to pull. It's like a reins on the horse. You got to pull it real tight and pull him back.
You know.
Anyway, Peter.
Brian, I thank you very much. Indeed.